I'm Daniel, the past life regressionist, and it's time to begin.
Lift off and the clock has started.
3, 2, 1. This is Timeless Spirituality. Enjoy Eternity Time.
Hey everyone, welcome back for the final episode in the Somehow I Made It Through series. This was actually the first episode that I recorded in the series. I just, I switch up the order. Sometimes I do that because I was like, yeah, let's start with the first. It's the last, and the first wasn't the last. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed it. It was different. It was a little bit of a departure from what I usually do on the show. And then I'm not only going to be doing one new Mirror of Time, but it's going to be two. And then a new mini-series, which is going to be 3 episodes. And that will be based off of the Mirror of Time 7, which is Metamorphosis. So, and then we'll round out the Mirror of Time home series after that mini-series. A lot of saying the word series. Guys, I'm excited. I'm really excited for the Mirror of Time. I'm excited for this episode. It was... oh God, it gives you the feels in all the right places, and it really combines faith and belief and moving forward in life. And what more is there to say other than I think that there is a perfect balance on the spectrum. I hope that sums it up. And I want to thank Stefania Rossi, my guest from today's episode, for being the first guest and the guinea pig for me to try out the new format. As you'll see, I was a little bit giddy. I think that that's kind of transferring over here right now. And it's really warm in my room right now that I'm recording in. So I want to get out of here and get in the living room. And it's hot. So I think that's why I'm speeding through. So with all of that said, if you would like to book a regression with me to discover who, when, and where you have been throughout time, you can reach me on Instagram at the Past Life Regressionist or my website, thepastliferegressionist.com. And now, you know what time it is. Stefania,
Hello.
Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I broke my rhythm there. So I have this goober thing at the beginning. Blah, blah, blah. So for everyone who's listening, as I was explaining to stuff, I'm kind of like, I'm nervous right now because I was talking with Stefania about how this is a new type of interview for me. So I'm like, do I incorporate the original elements? Do I not? And so it's cool. So I'm doing well. I think that was the question, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sorry, I might have interrupted your beginning spiel there.
It's my flow's off. It's okay. Fish out of water. It's cool. All right. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Are you ready for the first official question?
I am ready for the first official question. Send it my way.
What is your favorite song about time and why?
That is a good question. So I had to think about this one. Like when you sent me that question, I had to think about it because I was like, what songs do I like that are about time? So then I started going through my playlist on Spotify. And I mean, it's also like, I had to ask myself, like, what does that even mean? Like, what does time even mean, really? Because you can look at time as like aging, or you can look at it in like so many different ways. So there was a song that popped into my head by John Mayer called Stop This Train. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. And it's about, he's just talking about how like he's on this train, and the train is basically life. And he's talking about getting older and how he doesn't want to get older. And he's talking to his parents who are like in the song, he talks to his dad who's in his late 60s. And he's just saying, like, I don't want, like, life is passing me by. I'm on this train and life is going by so fast. I'm getting older. And that was the first song that I thought about. Yeah, it's a beautiful song, but I can definitely relate to it in the sense of I feel like I'm really getting older because I feel like I'm still like 26. I'm in my 20s, right? So I'm still like young, but I just feel like with each year that passes, like time is just going so quickly. It feels like just yesterday that I was in high school. And then I have, just memories of being in elementary school, being in kindergarten. And now I'm 26 years old. Like I'm an adult now. So it's pretty crazy how time flies like that.
It's a great title.
Yeah,
Well, thank you for all that.
of course.
And I forgot to mention to you before we hit record also that I play a little game
Okay.
called Guess the Year. So I don't know if you're wondering why my hands went up, because they were more fisted because I realized halfway through, like, oh, I didn't tell her about this. So that was so you see that I wasn't typing anything in.
Okay. Got it.
I'm not familiar with the song. So I'm going to try to narrow it down by asking, which album was it on?
Let me go look. It is Continuum. Continuum.
Continuum. That came. Oh, was Continuum one in 2003 or was that 2006? What was the?
Let me look.
No, that was 2000.
What is your guess?
Room for Squares was his first album. I don't think Continuum was his second album. I think it was his third album. So if it was a third album, I'm going to say it was 2006 when that came out.
Yeah, you're right.
Yes.
Good job. I would not know that.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Well, listen to it after this.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. There's some great songs on that album too. I don't know why I've never listened to that album start to finish.
Oh, he's amazing.
Is Waiting on the World to Change was on the reissue, I believe, of that album. I don't think it was on the standard.
It's here on the, I don't know, because it's just giving me like the continuum album, but it's saying that Waiting on the World to Change is the first song on the list. But maybe you're right. Maybe it was like the other one.
Oh no, I was wrong on that one. Yeah, that was the lead single. I was thinking Free Fall, and that was one that was added, his ukulele version of it.
Oh, okay.
That's the album with Slow Dancing in a Burning Room.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's right.
Such a great song.
I love that song too. So good.
Okay, so before we go down that train, what do you believe in?
Well, that's a loaded question. What do I believe in? I believe in a lot of things. I think when you ask that question, of course, my mind goes to my belief in God. I never really considered myself a quote unquote religious person. I was more spiritual. Like I really believed in the universe and, just like manifestation, all of that like stuff. I was really, really like, okay, this is it. Like we're all like living on this planet in this big universe, and we're all like energy. And I really believe, and I still do believe that in part, but I think lately I've become a little bit more religious, and that came upon me after going through something really difficult in January. I basically had this just horrible mental breakdown, and I ended up in the hospital, and I was just going through it. And through that, I found that believing in something like God and Jesus, and kind of going back, because I was raised Catholic, but never really resonated with it. But kind of going back to that belief system was really helpful for me. So I think I would say, like, I don't like to label myself and say like I'm, a Christian or I'm a Catholic or I'm this or I'm that. I just like to say I believe in God. I believe in Jesus, which I know is a Christian belief, but I also don't have very rigid beliefs around that either. So like, a lot of people who are Christian, I'm going off on a tangent here, but a lot of people who are Christian or Catholic, they really believe like what the Bible says, and they believe in all like kind of I don't want to say rules, but I guess like values to live by. And I think I have a lot of, morals and values, of course, that are similar to those spoken about in the Bible and through the religion, but I don't really believe in all of it. So I think I have a very intimate, close relationship with God, and I think that's personal between me and him. And I don't think that, all the rules and all of the things around it matter so much, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, thank you
Yeah.
for that. I love
Yeah.
asking that question
Yeah.
because it is ambiguous and it is
Mhm.
totally left up to the interpretation of whoever's answering it, which I
Right.
think is the beauty of a question like that. I don't think it should be rigid. I don't think there
Mhm.
has to be a certain, well, does it have to fit into this box? Does it
Exactly.
have to be in this? Look, you could believe, I mean, I was about to make a food analogy there because that's usually what I do, and I caught myself. But in the spirit of just a free flow, it could be like, do you believe in frozen yogurt? Well, I do, but what does that mean? So, and I think that, you know what I mean? Just with the
Yeah.
rigidity of
Absolutely.
everything.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that that's like something I had to learn because before, when I was growing up and I was being raised as a Catholic, I felt like I had to, I think I strayed away from it because of the rigidity around it, because I didn't really like resonate with all of it. Right. So I was like, okay, well, if I can't resonate with all of it, then I shouldn't identify as this. And then I kind of kept pushing it aside. So I think that it's good to just kind of like, just believe in what you believe in, and know that that's, personal to you. And it doesn't have to be like, yeah, I don't want to use the word rigid again, but it doesn't have to be like so strict, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Are you ready for the next question?
I am.
Who is Stefania?
Another loaded question. You love asking the loaded questions.
Yeah.
It's okay, that's good. Um, who is Stefania? Okay. Actually, shockingly, someone asked me this the other day in a job interview that I had. Someone's like, tell us who you are. And not from a professional standpoint, from like a personal standpoint. And I had to think about it for a second, because I was like so quick to be like, okay, well, I'm 26. I took this in school. I'm passionate about this with work. Like I started thinking like career wise. I was like, well, that's really not who I am. I'm a human being. So when they asked me that question, the first thing that came to my mind was, I'm a daughter. I'm a sister. I'm a friend. I'm an aunt. I'm a girlfriend. And those are all areas of my life that I get to give my love to people who mean so much to me. And I think for me, that's everything. I would say I'm very empathetic. I'm very caring. I'm very passionate. And I'm a very sensitive soul, I feel. And that's something that I used to look at as a bad thing, but now I'm starting to look at it as a blessing. So, yeah.
So my next question may not be quite as loaded. Is that okay?
Yes, that's okay.
Okay, we got the 3 loaded ones out of the way.
Like,
Wait, was there 3 or 2 loaded ones?
well, the song about time was kind of loaded too,
Okay, cool. We'll lump that in there. Why are you speaking out about mental health?
because I know what it's like to struggle. Anxiety and OCD and depression are all things that I've experienced from a very young age. I started experiencing all of those things at 6 or 7. So I was really young. Like the earliest memories I have of childhood are those of having anxiety at school and wanting to go home, or feeling really emotional and, just not wanting to talk to anyone. So a lot of my childhood memories are filled with that. And I grew up with it. It was my norm. Struggling with my mental health was my norm for so many years. And nobody really talked about it. We're starting to talk about it now more, which I'm so happy about. In the last few years, I want to say that, we've really made a lot of leeway in that, in kind of crushing the stigma surrounding mental health. But when I was growing up, it still wasn't something that we talked about very much, and wasn't something that my parents knew how to navigate. So when I was struggling, I didn't really have anyone to go to talk to. And my friends, it wasn't really something that they were necessarily open about if they were going through it. So in January of 2019, I started my Instagram account, and I really just started it because I had a feeling that there was probably a lot of people out there who were going through something similar to what I was going through when I was growing up, who don't have that outlet to talk to, who don't know what's going on inside, who feel lost, who feel scared. And I felt like it was my duty as someone who has gone through it and learned coping skills to manage it, to then help other people manage it as well, and to validate them and to help give them a support system. So that's really why I started my account. And that's why I speak about mental health so openly, because yeah, I know how hard it is. And I think we need to have more conversations. And when I started my account, there were so many people who reached out to me that I knew in my personal life who never, you would have never guessed they were struggling with depression. They were struggling with anxiety. But because that I told my story and I was open, then they felt safe enough to come to me and say, I'm struggling with this as well. And so that was really the light bulb moment for me when people started reaching out and saying like, oh my God, thank you for sharing this, because I was like, I would have never guessed, because you don't know when someone's struggling, right? It's really is like can be an invisible illness. And so, yeah, that really to me was something special. And that's why I continue every single day to speak about mental health.
So there was something you brought up a few minutes ago in January of this year, as we're recording this in the summer of 2023. You said you had I want to make sure I'm quoting you right on this, a mental breakdown.
Yes.
When you mentioned that, well, one, I was naturally curious. And I think, okay, this is the perfect place to talk about that. So I want to get there. The next feeling I had was admiration for you and respect for having the courage to say that. And then there is that part of me. I'm 37. So we're not vastly different in age. But even as I am approaching 40, it's shocking to me now how looking at the, quote unquote, younger generation, how it's cool to go to therapy, how people openly talk about, yeah, I talked about this with my therapist. I did this. I've been in therapy since I was dabbling at 13, but then really from 14 on. And I'll never forget the day when I was sitting in the waiting room at my therapist's office, and I used to see him in the evening. And I watched someone else I knew walk by the office and walk into, and it was outside of a glass door. So they were on the outs, because in California, open air stuff.
Yeah.
So for reference, Stefania lives in Canada. So
Yes.
yeah, sometimes I forget that the world doesn't work the way that we do. And I saw this guy walk by with his family into another therapist's office, and I was terrified. I was like, oh my God, he saw me. What if he tells people that he saw me at therapy? And that really was how it was at the time. It wasn't something you openly talked about. The other part that I felt when you brought that up was I cringed a bit, because of thinking about not so much my generation, but maybe the older generations and the stigma that term still carries with it. And so the cringe came with, oh my God, here's this person who is doing this courageous thing right now, just saying, yeah, I had this thing happen. And then I'm sitting there worried thinking, is this going to affect her potential career? Because what if one of these employers hears that she had a mental breakdown and they are still of that mindset that, oh, we don't want to hire someone who has mental health issues, and so on and so forth. So, I just need to be very clear above and beyond and above all everything else. I just have tremendous respect and admiration for you having the courage to say that. So what comes up from all of that jumbled mess?
Well, first of all, thank you for expressing your admiration and respect. It means a lot to me. And I definitely relate to that in the sense of, when you mention the older generation, because my parents are a perfect example of that. My parents were both struggled with mental health issues growing up, yet did not seek any care because it was very like hush hush. Like they weren't allowed to talk about it. It was something they like just pushed away to the side. And I think that a lot of people from that generation did that, and that inevitably affected the generations after them. Because if you're struggling with your mental health and then you don't do anything about it, and then you have kids, you're not always, but sometimes more than likely to pass some of that on to your children, intentionally, unintentionally, whatever. So I think that that's kind of what happened, without saying like I blame my parents, because I don't. Just unintentionally, some of that anxiety and some of that fear that was radiating off of my parents, it bled onto me. And I think that if that generation kind of did a little bit more work, but it's not their fault. It was just because of the time that they grew up in, that future generations would have been kind of better off. But also, it's all a learning experience for all of us. We're all living life learning and experiencing it. And so, yeah, no, I definitely have had that fear before of speaking out, what people will think, what, potentially a future employer might think, what, people I know from the community might think. And for me, I think the most important thing that I just keep reminding myself of is like everyone at the end of the day is a human being. And we all struggle in some capacity, some more than others, some with different things. And I can almost guarantee that any given person who sees my content has at some point in their life experienced feelings of anxiety or been in a situation where they felt helpless or, struggled with something that happened. So I feel like I just speak to being the human being and what it's like to go through life. And I think people just need to be more accepting of that. And I think we are moving in the right direction with that. But yeah, I just, in other words, I just kind of like don't care if people think negatively about me because I know that I'm doing something good. And that's what matters the most.
So, what would you say to people who are in that boat, though, about one, or maybe not wondering, but just the fear of what happens if I speak out? Because I don't want to say you're an exception to the rule, because of course there are people out there who have made accounts and made a message based off of that. So, but if you look at the population of the planet, it's still a very relatively small number. And even for me personally, I have the fear of, if I'm vulnerable on the podcast, if I express my fears or any doubts that I may have, am I going to lose business as a result of that? Because people may only want to be with the person who walks out there always holding their head high, even if they're full of shit. So what would you say to those people who, and it, I also don't want anyone to feel bad if they haven't stepped into that, because I get it. I'm sure you get it.
Absolutely.
Because it is important to talk about these things. I mean, that's why I wanted to do this little mini series, is because I think it's really important just to talk about it. So you have the floor.
Yeah, no, and I get that. It can be hard, really, really hard to be vulnerable. And I don't look at people who choose not to share their struggles or talk about it in a negative way at all, because I do understand that it can be really challenging, and maybe they're just not there yet. Maybe they're not at that place in their life where they're ready to be open and honest, and that's okay too. But I think I would just say, like, authenticity is, to me, the most important thing. I think whenever I do get that fear, like, okay, I'm about to say something and it's a little bit like, it's a little bit like I'm putting a lot out there. I'm giving a lot of my personal life right now. I sometimes do get that feeling where I'm like, oh no, like, what about if someone thinks something? from time to time. I mean, I've been sharing a lot about my life for a long time now on social media. So now I really don't get that feeling as much, but there is still that kind of like one-off where I'll share something and it's like really, really personal. And I'm like, like who's going to see this? But for me, I think just being authentic in my own feelings is the most important thing. So I think I would just say to people like, be yourself, be authentic. And if you lose people as a result of that, then I don't think that those are really your people. And I feel like the right people will come into your life who support you and who support your message and who have gone through the same things as you. Because I think that, yeah, like I said, authenticity is the most important thing. And people can really feel that when you're being authentic, when you're being genuine, when you're being sincere, when you're putting stuff out there, that really translates to people. People really feel that sincerity. That's just been my experience, at least. So I would say to you, is if you're scared of saying certain things and being vulnerable because, who knows, you might say something and then piss someone off, or someone might be like, oh, I'm not ready to hear that. Know that maybe that's just because that person's not at that stage in their life. They're not ready yet. And so if you lose that person right now, that's okay, because more people will come that align with you and your message and what you have to put out there.
Thank you. Yeah, I keep trying to remind myself of that every day. Because I say things to piss people off all the time. Some things I couldn't give two shits about. Like, whatever. Yeah. Bye. Don't let the door kick you on the way out. But then there are the other ones where it's like,
yeah, of course.
Did I really need to say that? But yeah. So I hear what you're saying, though. And it almost seems like it's a matter of trust. Or trust, or do I dare even use the word faith?
Faith. Yes.
What comes up for you there?
Trusting yourself.
Or just trusting yourself, faith. Because I don't know what to say. It's guinea pig session. So.
Well, yeah, no, I think trusting yourself is really important. And I think just, having faith in that the right people will find you and find your message when you're putting out something that's meaningful to you. I trust that it's reaching the right people and the people who need it and need to hear the message. So, yeah.
Suicide. Has it ever been part of the equation? Ever thought about it, attempted, or is that just something that has never fallen on your radar?
There's a difference between being suicidal and then having suicidal ideation. So suicidal ideation is essentially just kind of having thoughts of suicide, but not actually knowing that you don't actually want to go through with it, but kind of having the thought in your head. So I would say I've never been suicidal to the point where I've said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to, go through with it. But I have had thoughts, suicidal ideation for sure before. And that was in January when I went through everything. And that's why I'll get into that a little bit about what I went through. But yeah, I definitely had those thoughts. I didn't want to go through with it because I knew in my heart that it wasn't that I didn't want to be alive. It was just that I didn't want to keep feeling the pain that I was feeling. So for me, I just kind of, I thought of it in my head, but I was like, oh, well, I don't really I feel like I got to keep pushing through. Like, I don't want this to be my end result. So yeah, definitely have had experience with it, but didn't want to go through with it, which I'm very grateful for.
I'm glad you didn't either.
Yeah.
Before we jump into your experience in January, I just want to point out again to everyone that we're recording this in August of 2023. So January was 8 months ago. So I just want everyone to keep that in mind as they're listening to your story and where you were 8 months ago. You have the floor.
Big difference. Night and day, really, from where I was in January. So like I said before, mental health was something that I always struggled with: anxiety, depression, OCD, all that fun stuff since I was a little kid. And I've gone through ebbs and flows with it. So sometimes, it's manageable. Sometimes it's less manageable. And then I think in January, what happened is I got in a place in my life where I think I was a little bit too, I just wasn't doing my due diligence to take care of myself. I wasn't taking care of my physical health. I wasn't taking care of my mental health. I stopped going to therapy. I kind of just like lost track with taking care of my mental health. And as someone who struggles with anxiety every day and mental health issues every day, like it's something that for me, I need to pay close attention to. I can't kind of just let it run its track or whatever on its own. Like I feel like it's something I need to pay attention to. And I wasn't. And so I got to this place where I was just really, really anxious every single day to the point where it was just so debilitating, really depressed, crying every single day. And I was experiencing this for months leading up to January, and I wasn't doing anything. I don't know why, but I just wasn't doing anything. I wasn't motivated to do anything. I was just like, this is just how I feel. And I was accepting it. And I think that's part of, mental illness as well, is like people who struggle, sometimes they don't even have the strength to help themselves. And so that was kind of the place that I was in. And then in January, it all just hit me so hard. And it started with me actually getting really sick. I had a flu that was really, really bad. And I struggle with health anxiety. So when I got really sick, I got really worried. And I'm like, oh no, like this is a really bad sickness. Like I feel so horrible. Maybe I need to go to the hospital. Started like, going through it, spiraling. And then I remember I didn't sleep for a couple of nights when I was sick, which is pretty standard when you're sick. It's hard to get a good night's sleep. And then when I finally got better, I was like, okay, I'm so excited. I can just go to sleep. I can rest, whatever. But then I didn't sleep for another night. And then I didn't sleep for another night. And then there was like a 48 or like 3 or 4 day period when I didn't sleep at all for like not even 1 hour. I was up like 3, 4 days straight. And I felt like I was losing it. I'm like, I don't know if you've ever not slept for that long. The average person doesn't, the average person doesn't know what that's like. Yeah. But it's really scary. And my anxiety was just through the roof. And I started to just get really bad sleep anxiety because then I wasn't sleeping. And then I was scared of not sleeping. And then I was scared I was going to go crazy. I was scared all this stuff was going to happen to me because I wasn't sleeping. And then that was making me not sleep even more. So basically, I just kind of like everything inside of me just started kind of breaking down. And I really just felt like I was losing complete control over my mental and physical health. And I ended up going to the hospital on like the 4th day of not sleeping. I ended up going to the ER and I was like, I don't know what to do. I just feel like a mess. And the doctor gave me a sleeping pill and he's like, okay, take these sleeping pills for a few nights, but then go to your family doctor and discuss options, like see what's going to work for you and what you can do to help yourself. So I, took the sleeping pills, whatever, got a few nights of iffy sleep, still not through the night, but a little bit more sleep, which I was grateful for. Then I went to my doctor on the Monday and I was telling her, I remember just like bawling my eyes out and saying like, I haven't felt like myself in months and I've been ignoring it. And now I feel like I'm falling apart. I don't know what to do. And she said to me, first of all, you're going to get through this. And I'm so grateful she was so reassuring because I know a lot of doctors are not, necessarily as empathetic as they should be when it comes to mental health. She said, firstly, you're going to get through this. We're going to find a solution. We're going to maybe have to do some trial and error to find a solution, but we're going to find a solution. So she wanted to start me on medication. And that was something that I was really hesitant about just because I'd heard some stories about people being on medication and it being kind of a negative experience for them. And also, I think that I had some internalized stigma as well about medication, thinking that, oh, if I take this medication, then it means that I'm relying on something and it's just a Band-Aid or, all the things that people kind of say about it. And so I said to her, like, okay, I'll take the prescription, but I don't know if I'm going to take this medication. I'll think about it. And then she set me up with a psychiatrist and then gave me a few resources of peer support groups that I can go to, people that I can talk to, a therapist who was a little bit more affordable for me at the time. And yeah, so she kind of set me with all that. And the next 2 weeks after that were really, really difficult. I just felt so lost. I kind of, I got to this point where I stopped really eating very much. So I lost 20 pounds during that time. I wasn't really sleeping very well either. I kind of started to isolate myself. Like my friends who were messaging me, I wasn't answering their phone calls. I wasn't answering their text messages. My boyfriend, I didn't want to see my boyfriend. I didn't want to see like all these people in my life because I just felt like I was in such a hopeless place. And I literally felt like I was in survival mode. This is like a matter of survival. I wake up every single day and I'm just trying to figure out how I'm going to get through this day. And that's it. I could not think about tomorrow or the day after. It's like, I'm waking up this morning and like, how can I get from 8 a.m. when I wake up to 10 o'clock when I go to bed? Like, how can I make it through that period of time? And so then eventually, because it got to such a point that I was just so debilitated by the anxiety, I decided to end up taking the medication. And that gave me more more of an ability to do other things that were going to help me with my mental health, because it really neutralized me and brought me to kind of this point where I was like, okay, I can now go out and do other things that help me, because before I couldn't. I was so debilitated. So I'm very grateful that I made that decision. I know that's, controversial for some, even though, it shouldn't be, because you got to do what's best for you and you got to do what you think the best thing is for your own treatment. But yeah, and then I just really during that time found the connection to myself again, to how important my mental health is, to how important my physical health is, to how important my faith is. And I went on this healing journey. And now here I am in August doing amazing, having learned so many things from my experience and feeling like I'm in just a really, really good place. So I'm very grateful.
Thank you for sharing all that.
Yeah.
I could feel it when you said it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the faith component.
Mm-hmm.
How did that help you out of it?
I think believing in something greater than me made me feel like I'm part of a bigger plan and that I'm supported and guided. And for me, that's, God. For other people, it's the universe. For some people, it's depending on your religion, or your faith or whatever you believe in, it's going to be different. Believing in God for me made me feel like I wasn't alone, that there was someone out there who, really, really just was helping guide me through the entire thing. And knowing that there's, a bigger plan for me out there. And I felt that the whole time. I just lost it a little bit. I lost touch with it, my purpose, why I'm here. And I think I just really got reminded of that during that time. And praying really helped too. Praying was something that really allowed me to express how I was feeling. And sometimes I think during that time, it was really hard for me to really articulate what I was going through. But when I prayed, it just like flew out of me. Like it just came out of me. When I would pray to God, I was able to just tell him how I was feeling. And I felt that every day that passed, I started to get a little bit better and I started to feel a little bit more like myself. The more that I was praying, the more that I was working on myself, I felt like he gave me strength. And yeah, I think that's a little bit about how faith played a really important role in my healing.
Now, as you look back on the experience, do you understand what you were going through?
Yes.
You mind
Yeah.
talking about that a little bit?
Absolutely. I think, yeah, when you're in something, it's really hard to understand. And then when you look back, you can understand better. For me, I believe that everything happens for a reason. That's my mentality. I know not everyone resonates with that. I believe that things happen to teach us things, to teach us lessons, to bring us to different places in our lives for growth, or even to develop faith. So I look back on what happened to me, and I believe that what happened to me happened so that I could get to where I am today. Because if I hadn't gone through that, I think I would have stayed in a place that was very much just kind of like getting through each day, because that's what I was doing for so long. And after going through that, now I realize how much more there is to life and how I can actually live life way more optimally than I ever did before. And it taught me a lot. It taught me a lot about myself. It taught me a lot about the people that are surrounding me, about my relationship with my parents, about my relationship with my partner, just everything. It just taught me so many different lessons in absolutely every area of my life. And so ultimately, I'm very grateful for it. And I know that that can be hard for some people to say or even to hear, because it's like, I'm telling you, like, I was like, having suicidal thoughts, and I was in the darkest place in my life. And, I was just trying to survive. And then hearing me say, I'm very grateful for it. It's like, it could be confusing for people to hear that, but really it did bring me such a higher place. And so I'm forever grateful for it.
I get it. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
For me personally, in my experience, it's not something I would wish upon anyone.
No, of course.
But I'm grateful that I went through the experience, because I think it helped alter the trajectory of my life. And it forced me to slow down a lot and actually find what I was good at, find some purpose in life. And like, I hope I never go through anything like that again.
Yeah, no, and I agree.
Like, yeah, it was bad, but there is hope. There is light at the end of the tunnel. And even though I couldn't really see it at the time, somehow I knew. I could feel it. And I think that was enough for me, because I'm also someone who, especially at the time, I needed to know. I needed factual proof that everything was going to be okay. And no one could present me with factual proof. But it was just that feeling inside. And I think there's that word faith. And I'm not someone who's religious. And I don't think faith necessarily needs to have a religious connotation. I think it's something you can have even as, maybe even an atheist. I think it's possible for an atheist to have faith and that there is nothing out there. Actually, yeah, that does make sense.
Yeah.
So I hope that word doesn't scare anyone away. And I think you can find a way to mold faith into whatever your belief system is, and to shape it in a way that will help you live a fulfilling life.
Absolutely. I agree. And I agree as well. That it's something I never want to go through again, because it really did suck a lot. But it did teach me that I can get through really hard times. So if I ever do go through something hard again, I know I got through that, and I can get through anything that comes my way.
Well, I'm glad you made it.
Thank you.
I said that already, but I don't care if I'm repeating myself for that one.
I love to hear it.
Do you have any final thoughts for anyone? I'm sorry, anyone, everyone. I'm just all over the place today.
No. You're great. You're doing great. Final thoughts. I would say just, if you're struggling and going through a hard time, I know it can be really, really hard. And I don't know everyone's personal situation, but I just want you to know that you're not alone, and that, there's nothing wrong with you, and that there's people out there in this world who have gone through the same thing or going through the same thing. So you're not alone, and don't give up, and don't lose hope, because as hopeless as things may feel, like you said, there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
Well, I just want to thank you so much for being here today and for sharing your story.
Of course.
I know I said it before, and I'll say it again. I could feel it, and I'm sure there are people who are listening to this right now who can feel it too. And I admire and respect you having the courage to speak the way that you're speaking. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Where can everyone reach you?
So you can reach me at at Dear My Anxiety on Instagram. And I also just recently created a website, so you can find me at dearmyanxiety.com as well.
I'd love to have you back on again. We'll find a different topic. Unless
Absolutely.
there's more we could talk about in this, but just thank you. And thank you for being out there in the world.
Of course. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Yay. Fellow time travelers, your journey through time awaits you. Just want to thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode. And if you're interested in discovering who, when, and where you have been throughout time, and you'd like to book a session with me, just go ahead and send me a message on Instagram at The Past Life Regressionist, or you can reach me through my website, yourpastliferegressionist.com.